You're listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. Discover ways to secure your home, protect your family, and embrace your role as a protector parent. Welcome, friend. I'm Andy Murphy, the creator of the Secure Dad. This podcast serves to help families become proactive in their safety. The information I share on this podcast is for general information purposes only. My goal is to empower you to make safer decisions for yourself and your family. Today on the podcast, we're discussing back-to-school safety tips. Now, I'm going to be covering some new ground and getting very frank and in your face about the realities of what it takes to protect our kids during the school year. All of that and more ahead on the Secure Dad Podcast. So have you ever wondered about the best ways to strengthen your door for home security? Maybe you've thought about trying to maximize your alarm system but didn't quite know where to start. Have you given any thought to protecting the cars in your driveway? Don't worry, the Secure Dad is here to help. My Family Home Security Assessment is available to you. This 12-page checklist will show you the best upgrades that you can make to your home to make it more secure and in some cases actually boost your home's curb appeal. Best of all, this assessment is for protector parents of all skill levels. Remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Get your copy today for only $6 at the Secure Dad store. I'll put a link in today's show notes for you. Also, I want to invite you to check out my free video presentation, 5 Family Rules for Phones. No matter the age of your kids, these 5 simple principles can go a long way to keeping your family safe online. Many parents think that when they hand their kids a data device that means that they can see out into the world, which is true, but it also means that the world can look back and interact with them. And this is just one of the concepts that I help you navigate in this presentation. To see the video, just tap on the link in today's show notes. Back-to-school safety is important for us as parents. I cover it every year, and it seems year after year, things escalate. It seems like something the year before has given us more concerns, and that certainly happened in Texas in May. I also do this because when you search for back-to-school safety, you get news stories on where school zones are going to be and how you're supposed to stop for a school bus. And while those things are important, they aren't the biggest threats that our kids face at school. So today I'm going to talk about back-to-school safety like I never have before, because I feel like we've not had a school year like this before. I really want you to focus on the mental health of your children. I feel like as parents, we think our kids have it easier than we did because they can just Google facts and not use an encyclopedia. But the stress of school has changed from when we were there. I think a lot of it has to do with how social media and the internet are woven into our lives and school curriculum. I read an article from the Pew Research Center, I actually rewrote this podcast after I read this. And this article from Pew said 36% of teenagers say that they spend too much time on social media. So about 1 in 3 kids out there know that they're on social media too much. And in that same study, 54% said that it would be hard for them to give up social media. And if you're curious, YouTube is the #1 app that teens use, followed by TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat. And honestly, I'm amazed that Snapchat is still around, to be honest. I bring this up to say that so much of our kids' time is tied up online, where the rumors, jokes, and mean posts live 24/7. The school experience, good or bad, doesn't end for them when the bell rings. Thankfully, it wasn't like that for us. We just talked on the phone for an hour about nothing until our parents told us to hang up. But for today's students, the social pressure continues well into the nights and into the weekends. While it may make you an unpopular parent, I want you to create set times for when social media can be used in your house and when it can't. Do this for their mental health. And I'll plug this one more time. I talk about these sorts of things in my video presentation, 5 Family Rules for Phones. It really does focus on our mental health and how parents can help their kids use smartphones to their advantage where it doesn't become a detriment. As I mentioned before, we've all been through school. We survived middle school. We survived high school. But since we were there, the game has changed. I want you to put a special focus on talking with your kids this year. This is part of their mental health. Get to know their perspectives, their relationships, interests, and fears. It's our job as parents to know these things. I can hear some of you already say, but Andy, my kids won't talk to me. Yes, we were the same way when we wore their shoes. But now the game has escalated. Do your best to let them know that they can come to you with a question, an idea, or a fear, and that you're going to listen and then help. Listen first, then help. Be the safe space for your kid. If you're saying your parents weren't like that for you, don't let that get in the way. Don't let that stop you. Our children need us to be their parents, and you'll both figure that out as you go, together. I've talked a lot about social media and academic stress of school, and it reminds me of this great analogy that I picked up when I did training with Greg Williams and Brian Marin at Arcadia Cognerati. And here's the analogy. When somebody's cup gets full, it spills over. Greg and Brian were able to show over and over again how someone's cup got full and it spilled over into the real world, and it usually involved violence. So some real talk here. I think about this analogy almost every day to keep my family safe, to keep my family from spilling over, and most importantly, to keep me from spilling over. You need to remember that someone's coping skills keep that water from rising and spilling out. The less skills that they have to cope with whatever their issue is, the more likely they are to break. Kids don't have the skills like we as adults do, so parents have to help our kids keep that level manageable. We may not always be the solution, but we always need to be their advocate, their cheerleader, and their rock. And the last thing I want to leave you with is an open discussion about school shootings. Don't stop listening. Keep rolling. This is uncomfortable, but we're going to get through it together. What happened in May in Texas was horrific. The police response was not what anyone wanted. We still don't know the full truth about what happened. My feelings are, and I'm sure yours are too, that this event changed America. It changed students, educators, parents, and law enforcement. Things are going to be different this year. If nothing else, students and educators are going to be much more proactive about stopping these threats. Personally, I think that there's going to be a stronger response to threats and acts of violence from law enforcement this year. I may be wrong, but I think there are a lot of good departments out there that want to differentiate themselves from that situation. Now, in my son's school district last year, there was at least one occurrence per month of a kid either bringing a gun to a school or a student making a threat online. And I live in a nice place. Like, people move here for the schools. So if this can happen in the nice school district, it can happen anywhere. Now, there were no gun incidents in the district last year because school staff and the police were able to intervene before something bad could happen. So how's that possible? Students were kept safe last year in our district because when they saw something bad in the school or online, they got the right people involved. They saw something and they said something, and the plan worked. Students were brave enough to speak up, and in my opinion, those students are heroes. No one was hurt because the system worked and people stepped up to do the right thing at the right time. You must have this talk with your children. If they see a gun or a classmate make a threat, then they need to talk to you, a teacher, or the school resource officer as soon as they can. Most school districts actually have an anonymous tip line that kids can text. Make sure that number is in your kid's phone. If they come to you with information like this, then you need to drop what you're doing and get involved immediately. Showing your kid how to respond to this situation may save their life and the lives of other students too. For more on school safety, I want you to listen to 2 interviews that I've done on this show. The first one is with Greg and Brian of Arcadia Cognerati. We had an amazing discussion about preventing school shootings, and yes, preventing school shootings can be done. That is episode number 173. Also, I talk about school security with Spencer Corson. He and I had a great talk about the reality of school security, and it's going to pop your bubble a little bit about how safe schools really are. And that's episode number 144, and I have links to both in today's show notes. Listen, today's show may not have been what you expected, but this is one that we all needed to hear. The rules and norms that governed you in school have changed for your kids. You can't apply 1995 protocols to 2022 issues. We have to adapt and learn to support our kids. I do truly hope that you and your family have a good school year. I want your kids to be successful in the classroom, on the field, and with friends. Just keep an eye on them and help them in the ways that they need it the most. That's all the time that we have for the Secure Dad podcast for today. Thank you, friend, for listening. Be sure to watch my free video, 5 Family Rules for Phones. No matter the age of your kids, the concepts that I share in this video will apply to your family. You can watch it at the link in today's show notes. I'm Andy Murphy, and until next time, take care and make sure that you talk to your kids.